I am Rabbi Stephen Leon, the rabbi and founder of the Anusim Center Synagogue, and I have a wonderful guest today in our podcast, which is called The Secret Jews of the Southwest. And I have a special relationship with this young lady because she was my student, and she brings me a lot of pride and a lot of pleasure. So her name is Mindy Escobar-Leanse, and I'm going to ask her if she would tell us a little bit about her background.
Yes, happily. Thank you for having me, Rabbi. I am now currently the music and religious school coordinator at Temple Mount Sinai. I, in a past life, in an ever-occurring life, am an actor, voice actor, and puppeteer. I grew up here in El Paso with you at B'nai Zion, and then I moved to New York at the age of 19 to pursue my performance career, and was there for 13 years before the pandemic happened and shut down the entertainment industry. And it just turned out that I really needed a change in my life, and I needed a shake-up spiritually, emotionally, physically, and that shake-up brought me back here to El Paso because my wife was working at UTEP at the time. And when I came back here, I, already having a relationship with Rabbi Zeidman, went to him and said, is there anyone in the city who could use somebody like me, a passionate Jew, an artist? And he said, yes, we need a Judaics teacher at the JCEL. And that led me to working at the JCEL, which is the early development that's located at Temple Mount Sinai, and Cherry Hill School. So I used my theatrical background and educational background to start teaching Judaics, and then through a mini series of events, took on the position of music coordinator and religious school coordinator at Temple.
I just want everyone to know, because not everyone in the audience is familiar with the community of El Paso. Temple Mount Sinai is the Reform Synagogue. Rabbi Zeidman, who's a good friend of mine, is the religious leader, the rabbi of Temple Mount Sinai. And Mindy, she says she's the musical director. I actually view her as the cantor as well, being the son of a cantor myself. This is a very honored position, Mindy, and I think they have chosen a wonderful person to do that.
Thank you. I very much love what I do so much that it makes me very emotional, because I was saying this to you the other day, that when I look at my life and the passions of my life, Judaism and theater were totally hand in hand. I grew up going to B'nai Zion, hearing your father sing, hearing you sing, and learning prayer in that way. And I was always very deeply connected to it. And then I was put into theater at the JCC, and that talent was identified by Jerry Given, who, helped me to foster it, but it was always hand in hand. And I think they're so inherently linked together. And then when I started doing my own research of my family and everything like that, I have a cousin who's a cantor. And it turns out that in my family history on my father's side, we have 4 generations of cantors.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah, so whether I knew it or not, it was kind of like God was always going to put me on this path, and
wow.
I proudly take on the position of cantorial soloist, and there are quite a few people who are trying to get me to go to cantorial school, so who knows, maybe in my future that will still be a part of my journey. I love learning, and I love doing this so much that the better I can get at it, I would like to pursue that education for sure.
Well, as you know, the name of this podcast are The Secret Jews of the Southwest. And I was wondering, why does that subject of crypto-Judaism or B'nai Anusim, why does that interest you at all?
I think it's fascinating because I love stories. I love family stories. I love history, our own personal stories. We all have them, right? And this is such a fascinating community of people. That's a very long history to try and track, right? Many of us, if we're lucky, know our family history maybe to the 1800s. But to be able to track it so far back is magnificent. And the fact that traditions and rituals would last over generations and generations to the point where a modern person could go, I wonder why my family always did that tradition, and trace that lineage all the way back is just fascinating to me. And I love stories. I really do. I love to hear where people come from, how they found what connects them. And we all have stories. We all have interesting points on the journey. And here in El Paso, what I think is so beautiful, what you and Blanca are doing with the Anusim Center, is there are many people I've come across in life, whether it's my own wife and her family or friends, who feel a deep connection to Judaism, and they don't know why. So for a large portion of them, of these people, to have a curiosity, follow that line of curiosity, and then find a home, a community, is like the best possible outcome for a curiosity. You know, my wife's great aunt at our wedding said to her, well, you know, our family was Jewish. And we had a very beautifully Jewish wedding with Rabbi Zeidman, and it shocked her. And she wanted to know more, and sadly, that great aunt passed away only months later.
Wow.
So she never heard that story. But she feels a great connection to Judaism, to the point where she really brought me back to the religion in wanting to know more and in her curiosity. She hasn't yet traced her lineage there, but as a practicing Jewish woman, she can identify what interests her and why these are connector pieces. And in El Paso, this is such an interesting cross-section of humanity, right? We have a very strong Mexican community. We have a pretty strong Southwest community. And here, amidst all of the immigrants and everything for generations, are a group of people who can identify in so many ways. And I think that's a real, cornerstone of what this city is. And it brought me back in a lot of ways because it's very unique. Along my travels of life, I've gotten to go to a lot of places around the world, and El Paso's a very unique city. And I definitely had to leave in order to learn that. You know, I didn't know that as a kid. I didn't understand how truly unique this community was and is. But when you go other places and you talk to people and you learn about a city and you learn the history, this is a really energetically amazing crossroad.
And, from my personal story, of course, when I came to El Paso in 1986 from New Jersey and from the New York area and from Connecticut, I was not aware of not only what you're talking about, but the specific connection of secret Jews, of B'nai Anusim, of crypto Jews, who have been here for centuries. And it's still a secret among both the Jewish and the non-Jewish residents of El Paso. There are many people of a Hispanic background here who don't know the history and how they wound up here from Spain or Portugal. And an awful lot of them did. It's kind of interesting. Now, I would like to take advantage of your musical talent because I think right now I'd like you to share with us a musical piece so you can tell us a little bit about it and how it relates also to this background.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I love music. I always have. My mom used to call me the human radio because I would hear a song and just absorb it. I can hear a song on the radio within 2 times. I probably know 80% of the song. So I love music, and Jewish music it resonates. Cantor Rosalie Wills says, there's a song that says, when you sing, you pray twice. So when I was thinking about this, what do I want to offer? I want to offer peace. Always. And there's a woman who won the Jewish Rock Radio Song of the Year a couple of years ago with a version of Oseh Shalom. And it turns out this woman, Alana Jagoda, is the daughter of Flor Jagoda, who wrote Ocho Candelitas, which is one of the very, very well-known Hanukkah songs that is Sephardic and more of the Spanish influence of Judaism.
In fact, it's written in Ladino.
Exactly. It's written in Ladino. So this is the daughter of the woman who made that famous, who really kind of put it on the map. We think a lot about of the Ashkenazi influence. So I wanted to offer this because this is of the Sephardic influence. And it goes like this. Oseh Shalom b'imromav. Oseh Shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. And then she goes into English and she says, may the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down. So,
that's beautiful.
Thank you. She's a wonderful guitar player. I highly recommend everybody looking up her version of it, but I wanted to share that one because of her roots.
Oh, that's very special. I asked you, or you actually offered, what you do at Temple and how you came back here and you were looking for something to do. Yes. And offered your services, and here you are. Tell us a little bit about what is your role there at Temple Mount Sinai?
Yes, so as Rabbi Zeidman says, I wear a lot of kippahs. I am the cantorial soloist, so I help to lead prayer through song, which genuinely is my favorite part of my job. It's what resonates so deeply with me. And tied to being the cantorial soloist, I'm the music coordinator. So everything that goes on at Temple that has music involved is through my office. I make sure that the musical experience for every Shabbat goes along with the Parsha. I choose music that I think the congregation would like, that may resonate with what's going on in our world, resonate with what's going on in the Torah learning, and bring in guests. So anything having to do with music is through my office. And I also coordinate the religious school. So now in El Paso, we have one religious school outside of Chabad. Chabad has their own. But B'nai Zion and Temple Mount Sinai have joined forces together, and we are now one religious school, which I think is really beautiful. It's a nice blending of our communities. And so anything that goes on in religious school, whether it's programming, making sure what the teachers have, making sure the environment and experience for the families is one of good learning, of passionate Judaism, that's all coming through me. So I love my job. I never wanted to have children personally, so it's really beautiful because I get to work with children. And I love working with children. I did it for the Wildlife Conservation Society. So entertainment is a great aspect of my job, coming from my life of an entertainer, but making sure that the kids are getting something from the learning. Why are we praying? Why are we coming to religious school? What's the point of having a robust Jewish community? And so we're asking those questions and engaging with what new learning looks like too. After the pandemic, we know that kids are learning differently. They're socially different, their education is different. So there's a lot of big questions that we're talking about as far as like the future of Jewish education. For me, I think that the values and the ethics of Judaism are what really last. And so I'm very focused on those values and those morals and those ethics.
And now, could you share another version of Oseh Shalom?
Happily. So I love stories, and somebody in one of the many beautiful classes I've been taking had a great way of explaining what a midrash is. They said their teenage daughter came up with this. A midrash is like a fan fiction. So we're trying to figure out what's going on in the storytelling. We're trying to figure out taking a detail and making a new story based off that detail. So I love Debbie Friedman. She was definitely one of my huge influences as a child. I remember seeing her at B'nai Zion. I don't remember what year that was, but I remember seeing her and just being so excited. She was a phenomenal storyteller. And she wrote a version of Oseh Shalom that I really like. And I heard a story that goes along with it. In this Oseh Shalom, every different composition is doing something, right? In the Alana Jagoda, I feel like she's really calling down the peacefulness. She even says it, may the one bring peace, bring it down. She's kind of bringing that down. In this Oseh Shalom, we have a meeting of heaven and earth. So this one is broken down into two parts. And the first part is us as humans. We're walking along the earth every day. We're working, we're taking our journey, and we as humans are always doing those steps. So I hear this one in the earthly part as us walking through life. And it's hard, and it's a little heavier. The second part of the song is coming from the angels. The angels, we're calling out from the earth, and the angels are responding back to us. So it takes on a different rhythmic pattern. It comes from a higher place. And then if you have multiple singers, you can do it where the two of them meet. And it's this explosion of earth and heaven that causes this cacophony. And so I love this version of Oseh Shalom, and I want to share it. And again, I'll encourage everybody to look up Debbie Friedman's version of it so that you can hear the real blending of the two. So if it feels good to you, you can close your eyes and imagine the walking of the earth and then the joining of heaven. And it goes like this. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
It was also very inspiring. Thank you. As a young Jewish leader, we could go on all day with this, but we have a limit here, and I want to hear one more Oseh Shalom. But as a young Jewish leader, what are your feelings right now, as we've just started 2024, about the future of Judaism and the world as we embark on this new year?
Good question. I think prayer is really necessary, and I think everybody accesses prayer differently. So as someone who is leading the prayer, I want people to find what resonates with them. In my own journey, I've had to redefine a lot of the prayer. I struggled with Israel, which is so beautiful, right? Because that's another translation of Israel is the internal struggle. So for me, I needed to redefine that word. For our younger generations, I want them to find what prayer is for them. And hopefully, they find that the practice of prayer is something that they want to keep. Because it is a practice. It's like yoga or anything physical or any kind of practice, be it meditation or journaling every day or whatever it is. There are some days where you don't want to do it. And you just still have to show up. And it's in those days that sometimes it's the best, right? Some mornings on a Saturday morning, I'm not ready to go and lead prayer, and it can be difficult, but I show up and I do it. And so I want our younger generations to create their own practice of prayer, whatever that means to them. If they're using the Siddur, wonderful. If they're creating their own, even better, but I want them to find comfort, safety, but challenge in their practice. And that's just one answer of that incredibly complex question, but that resonates really deeply with me. When I lost my practice of prayer, I lost a lot of who I was. And luckily, the universe, God, divine, whatever you want to call it, brought me back to my path. So for our younger generations, I just don't want them to have to find that by going off the path. I think a lot of what's been talked about recently on our college campuses, in our education places, is safe spaces. That's important, yes, But Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL said, rather than safe places, I'd like to see courageous places. So I want our temples to be those courageous places for our students, that they can come to us with difficult questions and go to each other for difficult questions and feel safe in that, but safe in a way that challenges them. That's what I hope to see this coming year, is people taking Judaism for what it is, which is always encouraged us to ask questions and have those hard conversations and get engaged in the conversation, educated.
Thank you again. And could you share the third version of Oseh Shalom?
Yes. This one is, I'm going to dedicate this one to my wife's grandmother who passed away this past week. She loved when I sang to her in Hebrew. It resonated so deeply with her. She was not Jewish, but she loved the Hebrew. And as her sickness progressed, sometimes I would go and sing to her in Hebrew, and it really brought her to life. So I don't know if it's the vibrations, if it's the prayer itself, but one of the things that I love about Jewish music is we often use niguns, wordless songs. And the power of the nigun is that you don't have to know the words. Anybody can sing along. There's also the midrash that says that niguns, the wordless song, are the songs of the angels, because angels don't need the words, they just use the song. So I chose this final Oseh Shalom because it has that nigun. And it's from the Israeli band Nava Tehillah. And the nigun goes like this. Oh gosh. Sometimes I have so much music in my head that I forget it.
Okay.
So the Oseh Shalom goes like this. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, amen. And another point to this one is that it calls in not just the peace for Israel, but the peace for all the world. And the nigun goes, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, amen.
Wow. A while ago, you invited the community to come to Temple, and I went with my wife and daughter and grandchildren to sing a song, and it was to tell us a little bit about that experience. It was connected to what was happening in Israel and the hostages and things like that. Could you tell us?
Absolutely. So this is a beautiful, powerful moment of community. A woman named Sarach from B'nai Zion, she actually was given this information and said, I don't know what to do with it, so passed it along to me. And I'm very grateful that she did, because then I was able to make it happen. So Kululam is an Israeli company that has been functioning for, I think they're probably going on 8 or 9 years. And they're composers and musicians from Israel using the power of music to create peace among communities. So in the past, they've done community projects where it's Palestinian, Iranian, Israeli collaborations. They've gone all around Europe and Asia singing songs of peace. And really the point of the project is various communities coming together to find moments of peace through song. So this specific Kululam project was to bring awareness for the hostages. So they do a wonderful job at creating compositions to recreate the music, right? Back to the Oseh Shaloms, every composition does something different. So they take a popular piece of music, but they recompose it so that it does something different with the piece of music. And then they send out a call to their following, of which they have I think on YouTube, it's 19 million followers. I mean, it's a really vast impact that they have digitally. And they say, anybody who wants to join, here's the music, this is what we want you to do, this is what we need you to do. And they basically send you a package, which is great. So I received this package of, here's the sheet music, here's our marketing material, and then I just hit the gas and made it happen. And so with the help of the Jewish Community Foundation and the Federation, they helped me to put the word out to the community. And I really wasn't sure what to expect, who would come, but we had 30 people show up, which is 30 more voices than we were expecting. And we all learned the song within an hour, and then we recorded the video, sent it in, and we were included in the video. I think they had something like 10,000 submissions. And so it's just a beautiful idea that all around the world, even though we don't know each other, even though our values and our religions may be different, we can all come together in music.
Thank you. Last month, we had an interfaith service for peace, for love of Israel at the Harvest Community Church, and Mindy was one of our participants. And as we come to the conclusion of this podcast, I want to end on our feelings about Israel and peace at this time. And I think you gave one of the final songs, and it was a Hatikva. And I was wondering if you could share that as we conclude this podcast now.
It would be my honor. And again, this is something that I struggled with, but now am embracing it and loving it and allowing the struggle and the conflict be there because we need it. We need it as part of the conversation. So thank you for asking me to sing this. I will sing it in the hope that it is meant, right? Kolot balev pnima nefesh yechudi Chomia ulfate mizrach kadima ayin letzion tzofia od lo avda tikvatenu Hatikva bat not alpayim Shli otam chofshi be'artzeinu Eretz Zion Verushalayim Lechi otam chofshi Be'artzeinu Eretz Zion Verushalayim.
Thank you so much, Mindy Escobar-Leanse, for being with us today. And we wish everyone a peaceful, a healthy, and a meaningful new year. Shalom.
Shalom. Amen.